Viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. Starting part 2 with the F-250. We've got the spindle off, or the knuckle. I guess in the first part, unhooked the tie rod end, figured out that whole little chabaco there. And now it's time to change the ball joints. I've got my Astro 7897 master ball joint kit. Hopefully we've got enough adapters that we can configure something to get these babies pushed out. They are offset a little bit, which sometimes can propose a problem using the ball joint press, but I think we'll be okie dokie, hopefully. So let's get started. First thing first, I see there is a snap ring here. We're going to try to wiggle it loose. Sometimes they don't like to cooperate. That half is loose. Kind of like a little woodpecker. Maybe. Just maybe. So got our snap ring pliers out from part 1. Mother lover. Might have to get something underneath it here. Get it pried up a little bit. Kind of bend it. There. Now we can tap around it. Should come with a new one, so don't worry about saving it. Bing! There she goes out the door. Oh, let's see. We need to get a cup. Not that kind of cup. Something that's going to fit it. Too small. Get you a better viewing angle. That one should be just right, I think. I don't know. What about this? What about this one with a notch out there? Is that what we need? Way we can get in there? Well, we'll find out. Sometimes it's trial and error. Find out who fits what. And I have found that this kit is a pretty good kit. Seems to always have just about everything we need. Until it doesn't. I just had to buy a set of adapters from a Jeep, which I should have had that adapter set for a long time. I finally bought it. Only about, I think about $100 for the kit, or for the expansion pack, we'll call it, for you gamers out there. Whoa, baby, hang on. Everybody still with me? Oh, she's getting snug. What are we hitting? It was going easy, and it went hard. Does it not fit through there? Aha. I see. What about this adapter? That's a little bit longer. We'll give it a go. Probably could tap it out at this point. Let's just see. That looks like it'll do the job. And it did quite well. That's the adapter I use. It's got the cutout because where it fits in the knuckle, you got to be able to get back in there a little bit further. So there's our lower. The upper we'll probably have to pull from out here because, like I say, these ball joints are offset. So I don't think it'll allow us. The threads will hit. So we'll have to go at it the other direction. Let me move you. Nope. Oh, this is where we're probably going to get in a pickle. Maybe this one? That one looks like it'll work. We don't have a whole lot of room for it to come up in, but it will get it started for us. Wish we had a little extension we could put on the bottom of it. Well, I guess getting it going is half the battle. So I'll use this little adapter here on the bottom, so we've got something to push against. There's going to be 1,000 comments now about the snap-on ball joint press. That is a little bit longer, has a grease fitting, and it holds the cup, so I'm very aware of that. However, I'm not going to spend the money on one. Alright, we are at the bottom of the cup. What do you do now, fella? You could probably hit it out of there. I wonder. Let's just stick this on the bottom. That'll give us a little more height. However, we may not have enough height altogether. We may not. Let's find out. That's not the way you're supposed to use this, I don't believe. Oh, just quite not enough. Oh yeah, perfect. She's snug. Definitely not the way that's supposed to be used. However, sometimes you just do what works. Maybe that is the way it's supposed to be used. Doesn't seem to work pretty well. So I just put the little extra piece on the bottom. Who knows? This may or may not have come with paperwork at some time. However, I don't have it anymore. If it did, plus you guys know me, I usually don't read directions. So we just got to clean out where this upper ball joint sits. Yeah. Get rid of some of the rust. Ah! How you like that in your headphones? Doody-doo. Looks good to me. I guess it doesn't matter which one we push in first. Now, if they were perfectly in line, you'd want to consider that. We've got some TTX ball joints we're going to be putting in. I do not believe they have an orientation mark. Let me make sure. I don't think they can. I just want to double check the paperwork. Now, some ball joints have to be oriented correctly. Usually not on a solid axle. Well, let's see. Wow, it came with a some kind of adapter. It's upside down. Well, that's fancy. Let's get all this stuff out of here. There's some grease fittings, such. And it does come with an installation adapter. Now that's handy. And that fits on there like so. Well, alrighty then. Stick that on there. Let me see if I can find the corresponding cup to go with this. Like a glove. Goes on there. And then we've got to see where our receiver cup is not big enough. We find something bigger. I believe the right combination has been had. Stick this up here. Now, my only dilemma is I don't know if we have enough, if there's enough throat on this thing to use the combo that we have. Maybe. I'm going to use that little piece that we had in the beginning. Oh boy. Not enough. Son of a monkey. What we'll do in this case is we will push it a little ways, but not all the way. push it in a bit, and then we'll have to stick the other piece on. Once she bottoms out, let me move you. You're gonna have to move, fellas. There we go. Run her until she hits bottom. Now we should be able to put the little extra piece here on the receiver. This is where it gets tricky. This is where you wish you had the $1,000 snap-on ball joint press that held all your pieces for you. But after you drop them on the floor a few thousand times, you learn how to finagle. This is where Hannah comes in handy. But she's not here. If we do the whole job without dropping a single ball joint adapter, it'd be a miracle. So far, so good. Just run her in until she hits bottom. There's that, and it did come with a new snap ring. We'll put that little guy on. Must be lunchtime, I'm getting shaky. I've not been drinking any water today, I've been sweating profusely. It comes with a couple grease fittings. It comes with a 90 and a straight. I do not know which one we need just yet, so I'm going to plug the hole again. Then we will go for the upper. I'm going to keep that little installation tool, that's handy. I wish all ball joints came with them. Now we've got the upper. Is that a lock nut? That is a lock nut, so make sure you put it right side up when we go to put it together. Open up this ball joint, like so. There's that one. This one also comes with an installation tool. Wish they made these ball joints for everything, but they don't. It's kind of a bummer. Get them from Napper. Terrain Tough TTX. Appear to be a very high quality ball joint. Let's see. If our receiver, this one is big enough, however, you have to hit the middle precisely. If you're putting it in and it catches the edge, just stop because you can ding them up. So there's that. We need a pusher cup, which that one fits precisely. If we can just give this a little love tap just to very gingerly get it started. Like a 4-ounce hammer, I don't think it's going to do much for us, but hopefully we got enough to throw it on the old press. Ooh, maybe. Oh, baby. She's tight. It should work. We're going to have to fiddle with this once we get it started to get it kind of lined up a little bit better. Let's see what happens. Looks like we hit the hole the first time, guys. That's because she's flush. That's why. It doesn't really stick through. It is bottomed out. Let's see. I guess that's it. No snap ring on that one. She is just press fit. And this one also comes with a couple grease fittings. What we're going to have to do is look on the driver's side to see if there's room above the U-joint to put a 90-degree grease fitting in there. And then it comes with a couple different style fancy pins right here. Yeah, I guess that's it. Now I see that the boots do have vent holes in them. Typically, you put the vent hole so it faces the inside, depending on the ball joint orientation. And I believe that's so if when grease oozes out of it, it doesn't get on the brakes. You'll see a lot of times on moods, the top of the boot will have a slot in it. It'll say, you know, face inboard or mount inboard. It doesn't have anything to do with the construction of the ball joint, just where the grease is going to ooze out. Now this one we got lucky, it does face on the inside. I did not notice that immediately. When I put the top one in, then I did. I'm going to save these. I've already gone ahead and cleaned up our shim, threw it in a sandblaster, blasted it off. You can see the writing on it. You can see me shaking too. I've gone ahead and cleaned up the top of our spindle now. This had a lot of rust on it, or the end of the axle tube there. What you want to do is, this wants to come out easy for your alignment guy. And don't forget to buy him a box of donuts and a cup of coffee. And tip him. He'll do a better job for you. So I'm going to take and grease this little fella up. You can use Never Seas, you can use whatever you want. Now make sure you clean out the hole too, because it's going to have a big rust ridge in there from the slot that was on that. So we're going to grease that up. Everybody's probably whining why I'm not using Never Seas. I'm the guy doing the alignment, and I don't feel like coming out looking like the Tin Man when I'm done. Now, very gingerly put that in there, and that should come out nice and easy. Oh my gosh, this thing's getting heavier. Line her up. Oh, she did. Ah, she spun on me. Ding dong. You can always put this bushing in later, but struggle here. Turn, little fella. Now I freaking did it. I gotta set this back down. That's what you get trying to make a YouTube video. Get her lined up. Get her back in the hole. Round 2. There we go. Carefully come up and talk sweet to it. There it is. Now, I'll put this one on. This one is not a lock now. Starting to lose it, fella. Get the lower one in. Now you may have to put a jack stand or something under this to keep that bottom one from spinning when you go to tighten it. Oh, I can't hold it anymore. Sometimes you get lucky if you tighten up top one, it puts just enough stress on that bottom one. What size is that? I don't think we're going to be able to use a socket. But it's hitting the spring. Oh, I'm going to get it stuck if I'm not careful. I'm going to have to little wrench it on there. Oh, maybe not. Maybe if we get a little extension. I don't think this will fit with the spring in the way. Maybe it will. Maybe today's my lucky day. So snug that one up a smidge. Now I don't think that's going to help us on the bottom. I don't think it's going to have enough tension. We'll try it. There is an Allen, hex inside that lower ball joint. You could always hold it with an Allen wrench and then tighten it up, which is what we're going to have to do. Oh, what size is that? 8 millimeter? First try. So I'll stick that on a ratchet. Stick our wrench in here. You're just going to have to hold the ratchet just to keep that stud from turning. It helps when you try to tighten it, not loosen it. We'll just get our socket wedged up against the inner part of the axle housing. And just start cranking this fella down. Because it is a lock nut, it does turn quite difficult. Now before you put the final beans to it, move your ratchet, otherwise it's going to be a permanent part of this truck. You know what I'm saying? It's going to get wedged in there too tight. If your ball joint does not have something to hold it in the middle, like I say, set it down on a jack stand so it puts a lot of pressure on it. And that will keep that stud from spinning typically. Uh-oh, did I not take my own advice? Let's see. At some point, the ratchet will not be doing anything for you. Ouch, that's my fingers. Let's see, the stud should be tight now, I think. And I'm gonna have to move you. I finished tightening up the lower. The stud's pulled up, it's quit turning. You know, it's held in the taper under its own friction. However, there's clearly something wrong with these ball joints because I cannot move the spindle. I mean, I can, but she's stiff. You cannot drive the vehicle like this. This thing will have memory steer like you've never seen. Everything went together smoothly. I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. The ball joints are fully seated. We didn't have much of an issue taking it apart, you know, as far as taking a chance and bending one of the C's. Highly unlikely, you know, because we used our pickle forks, but we didn't have to whale the piss out of it. I'm gonna go eat some lunch. This kind of sucks. Makes me very unhappy. Because if these ball joints are too stiff, like I say, you can't drive it. Because it'll act like my Jeep did. I had one defective upper ball joint in that. You know, I put a new one in and it's beautiful now, but this will make this thing wander all over the road. It's like something fierce. Oh, this sucks. Awesome. I believe, I just ate some lunch, got doing some thinking, and I don't remember seeing that upper sleeve move. I believe this is totally my fault. So typically on these, what you'll do is you'll tighten up your lower ball joint to, you know, a given torque spec, and then, you know, you tighten up your upper and then go back through and then retighten your lower. But if I remember right on these Fords, the upper sleeve does come up just a little bit. So I'm going to go through, I cracked them both, I just broke the taper loose on them just got done eating lunch. I'm going to tighten up just our lower, I'm going to leave our upper loose just to be sure. I think that's what was happening, because typically, like I say, typically you'll see that upper sleeve will come up just a smidge. I gotta get the phone, Miss O's not here. Never mind, just the YouTuber. One of the 50 phone calls a day. Holy crap, biscuit fella! Watch your wrench. Alright. Let me see, I believe we're in that lower taper now. Just double check that out here where it's safe. Okay, so we're in the taper. I think the bottom torque spec is like 30 foot-pounds, and then you go back through it like 190. So now we're nice and smooth. I think we will find that I goofed because I was not paying attention. Even though we had our sleeve nice and loose, I think we were binding on it. Let's just see here. That's going to hit the taper now. Yeah, I can feel it going into the taper, and you can see that space underneath it. Alright, and then the top torque spec's like 70. I suppose we could double check them, see what the torque spec actually is, so we can be sure we're doing it right. But yeah, if I remember correctly, you do the bottom. Been a long time since I looked in service info. We do the bottom. Top is like one torque spec, and then you come back through and double whammy the bottom. I think it, you know, a couple hundred or $190 somewhere's in there. So I'm going to give it just a little bit more juice here. That's probably going to be close to spec. We'll double check. But just because I don't want these binding on us. You can't have them bind. If you can't move this wheel easily, you're going to get memory steer like a mother. I just needed to walk away and go eat some lunch. Okay. Let's just see. It's getting a little snugger. That's still a little snugger than I like. I'd be afraid to put the damn thing together and then find out that we do have memory steer. Now these Mevotech ball joints are a metal cup on the inside. You know, it's not a cheap nylon cup, so they're not as forgiving as far as precision goes. You know what I mean? And they're probably a little less forgiving as far as torque specs go. I'm just going to snug the bottom. Yeah, click, there's about 190. She's nice and free. And then the top, like I say, they're usually not awfully tight. This hole, yeah, but it snugs it up a little more than I like. Definitely way better. I guess we can put a little grease in them just to see. Let me look on the other side. I want to see if we're going to have room for a permanent grease fitting. So there is enough room for a 90-degree fitting. It looks like, based on what I've seen on the other side. I feel like a jerk hole for showing you guys the wrong way the first time. Like I said, I didn't eat my apple pie, and I was like, you know what? I don't remember seeing that upper sleeve move. That's what I said to myself. I'm like, you ding dong, you've done enough ball joints and alignments, you know better. So I scolded myself and then came back out and broke the taper. See if we can get our grease fitting lined up where it's somewhat usable. Just getting a little snug right there. We're gonna be able to get in on it. And I'd like to be able to tighten it up a little bit more, but you're playing with fire, fella. You're best to take it back out. Stick that one in the bottom, try a different one in the top. Depending on where the cut of the thread starts, it might end up in a different position. We can hope. Oh yeah, this one's gonna be just right. See? Old grandma taught me anything, that was it. Of course I ripped the whole thing off. Come on, fella. Get our little grease cap back on there. Alright, let's give it a little shot of grease. Just a toot. Don't want to blow the boot up, but a couple little pumps there will be fine. Put the little cap back on it, find some place to wipe our grease. We'll definitely stick our fingers back in it. Now I did put the cotter pin in the top. I tightened it up just a smidge more because it's likely that I'm going to have to undo it again, so I didn't want to get real carried away on torque specs just yet, just because I know we're going to have to undo it more than likely. I'll give our lower one here a little toot of grease. Now if you're a real torque Nazi, be sure to get the actual specs. Like I said, I think the bottom is 100 and something, 170, 190, I believe they usually are. Tops somewhere between 50 and 70. And then the top, I mean, it becomes kind of irrelevant at some point because when you torque the top, it's very unlikely it's going to line up on a usable hole, so you always have to tighten it more. So you can very quickly go from, let's say, 70 foot-pounds to 150. You know, you don't have to turn it that much more, but this definitely feels way better. Okay, well, I'm only human, people. It always takes the wind right out of my sail when I do something stupid. All right, moving on. Let me get a rag. I've already gone and have gotten everything cleaned up already. Everything was pretty clean. I had to clean off the wheel bearing and such, make sure the seal on it is good. The other thing is the axle that we're putting back in here, we had to replace the seal on it. I didn't show that process because I have another video where we've fixed these four-wheel drive hubs before and replaced outer seal, and you have to use the big seal driver. And I've got that done, so what I want to do, give her one of these. We're just going to grease up inside the knuckle here. That way our seal slips in very nicely. And we'll keep this from getting all rusted out. Oh, it always comes down to the most inconvenient times. So do that. And also the inner seal here, if yours has it, now not all these trucks had it. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. It is not necessary. It just keeps the junk out of the tube. But of course it doesn't hold out the gear oil. That's your inner seal and not a differential. So now that that is done, I'll go find wherever we put our axle shaft. We'll give it the 1-2 slipperoo. Ah, she's heavy. Now they usually fit these inner seals pretty dang snug, or these tube seals. It does kind of help guide you in to the very inner, which you've got to be kind of ginger on. You don't want to go bashing it up. It does have a little bit of a guide on it. Come on, fella. Use glue. Come on, line up. Oh, I just about said the naughty word. I know you're in there. We should be pretty well straight, right? I can feel you. That's it. Don't get frickin' dirt in my grease. Come on, baby. There she is. Whew. So, I did get a little bit of dirt in my grease. I do want to wipe it out. Probably should have threw the axle in the parts washer to clean off that U-joint, but I neglected to do so. We are in the splines. Hallelujah. You say don't force that, otherwise you're going to have a gear oil leak and you got big problems. Make sure it's in the splines before you beat it. Just beat it. Who sings that song? Michael Jackson does, that's who. So that's the tool to put them in. That's an OTC one. Got a couple different versions of it. And now we're in. Yeehaw. Everything should spin freely, which it does. Of course, it pushed out most of our grease. We'll just twinkle around a little bit what's left. And then we've got our backing plate, which goes like so. That's where our speed sensor wire goes, I believe. Let me get this loaded up for us. Like I said, I've already cleaned off the wheel bearing, which can take a while to get all the rust and garbage off around the O-ring on it. I'm coming, folks, hold on. Now the wheel bearing does have the O-ring that runs around the edge up in here. That has to be nice and clean and in good shape. If not, you have to buy a new O-ring. or if you've had to beat the living snot out of yours to get it off, you probably have to buy a new wheel bearing. Which these little guys are not cheap. And we want to try to get that in without rolling that wheel bearing over, or without rolling that O-ring. Let's make sure it's started all the way around before we do any tappage. You should be able to see it. You want to very gingerly persuade it. Very gingerly with an 8-pound hammer. Don't go really wailing on it. Alright, it is almost in 100%. It is in 100%. I believe if you were to roll that wheel bearing O-ring, I think you would know it. You know, you'd have probably that big a gap. You know, that 1/8 inch or so, however thick that O-ring is. I really took the wind out of my sail. You guys are gonna think I'm a ball joint rookie. Can't wait to read these comments. Oh well, most people forgive me. Or at least if you're doing it and you make the same mistake I did, you'll know how to fix it. Instead of being like, freaking junk ball joints. Socket. Who took my socket? Looks like the battery's going dead in our flashlight. See, perhaps the back of my shoulder. Don't pinch your wire. I'm going to snug up the other two on this side. And you can see we got about a fat finger's width, not right up to the nub, but the beginning of it underneath that grease fitting. So plenty of room there when the axle turns. You know, until the U-joint goes bad, comes up and smacks it. Speaking of U-joint, we'll take and give this a little shot of grease, being that we're in here. Looks like it's oozing out all 4 caps, so that's good. And like I say, that one's easily accessible, so isn't the lower now. Finished putting this together. What do we have? We got a snap ring that goes in there. Of course, the lockout hub. Let's get the snap ring. I'd like to be able to get this thing down and get it lined up today, but I've got 2 cars on the other lifts that I'm waiting for my midday run from Napper. I'm not seeing my groove. We're gonna have to give it a little push. This light is whipped. Time for a new one. So if you take and put your snap ring in here and you don't see where it needs to go, hang on. Hold that up. Good flashlight. What we will need to do is give it a little push. So we're going to come in from the back side. I wish this is where I needed it again. Bear with me. We're going to come on the back side with a pry bar. We're going to push our axle shaft into this thing, the wheel bearing. I'm at a lack for words today. So I just give it a little push. Now we should be able to spread it and come on in. Let's get her at the tips of our tool. I'm really lacking in the word department today. I'm gonna give her a little push in there. Come on, fella. I'm gonna give it another push from the back side. Make sure it's definitely all the way in, and it is. We want to hear that snap ring click. Like that. She's in all the way. Hopefully that made sense to you. I know you probably can't see crap, but once you're in there and you're doing it, it'll all make sense to you. Like I say, you just got to push your axle into the wheel bearing just a smidge. And there we go. I believe the O-ring that seals this is on the inner part, where it is very nice and clean already. Let's grab that. And I am correct, the O-ring is in quite a bit further, so we're just going to put a little bit of the grease. Now if you're not having any problems with these, don't touch them. These have a tendency to leak vacuum, which, like I say, we've done a video on it. Now we've got to get these lined up. There is a roll pin on it. The roll pin here will line up with one of the holes that you're not using. Get it to line up on the axle shaft. Got 2 sets of splines you need to get lined up. There she goes. So I just give it the classic reach around, reach in there, turn that axle on the inside so you can line up the inner spines plus the outer spines. That's what gives you your 4-wheel peel. Make sure it locks in. It does. It unlocks. Beautiful. Put it bolts in. How come I always start my videos out with gloves on, then I end up with no gloves in the end? I think maybe that's how I ended up with some children. You know what I mean? There we go. We'll snug these up. Now you don't have to crush these things on. Be careful. Use your noodle. Very ginger. Very light torque spec. Not even an Ugga Dugga. I'm talking hand tools. Lightly. Gentle. Wipe some of our smudge off. Alright, throw the brakes together. Are we going to wait on that? They interfere with our tie rods? No, we can do that. We can toss our brakes on. Just want to make sure there's no rust chunks. Looks like he might have put some never sees on it. We'll hit it with some fluid film. Add a little bit of never sees inside the rotor here. Stick that on there like so. We'll run a nut on it to keep it from slopping around on us. There's that. Turn it sideways. Of course, we still have to put our ABS wire on there also. There's that freaking phone again. No, it's another YouTuber. Thanks for calling all day, people. Like I got no work to do but to hand out free advice. Sorry, not trying to be grumpy. After the 37th phone call the frickin' day, somebody saying, can you tell me what part to change? Nope, I can't. Maybe if you hold your phone down by your car so I can see it. Oh, never mind, that won't work either. What do they expect from me, man? Giving out free entertainment on the YouTube and then call the shop all frickin' day long. Day and night. Night and day. I just want to start posting their phone numbers up on YouTube and you guys can call them for once. Not that I don't want to take the phone calls. I physically, I can't. I cannot take your phone calls. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people. I can't. I've got like regular paying customers I got to take care of. Just the way it works, man. I like to help people out. There's just not enough hours in the day. If I answered every single phone call that came in, I would do nothing all day. My family would starve and we would die. No joke. You gotta work to make some money to pay some bills, to buy some groceries. Where's our air ratchet? I'm not trying to be a jerkhole, but I'm the only little fella that works here. If I had some guys out here working, I could just be in there talking on the phone all day. Which that would drive me crazy anyway, so that probably wouldn't happen. Well, hey there, little guy, what did you do? Oh, you're overextended. Okay. We're going to take and get these back on the appropriate way. Face them down. There we go. So I'm going to get our wires back in. Assuming I can. There we go. Get that plugged back in, and then we'll go on to part 3, the tie rod end. I'm still slightly embarrassed I goofed up on the ball joints. Gonna have to get past it. Gonna have to get past it, fella. We got a little Christmas tree fastener, then we got this little guy here. Get in there. I'll plug it back in. Stick it back behind the inner fender. Push it in the hole. Now with the tie rod end unhooked, don't give it a yank because it does stretch that ABS wire a tad on the tight side. Yeah, makes her snug. And don't forget to hook up your vacuum line. I did not show you guys that, I just did it. Well, I guess it is what it is. We're happy at this point. Gonna keep moving. That's gonna end part 2 of the ball joints. And I think I'm not happy with myself for making a mistake, which I've said probably at least 3 or 4 times at this point, but perhaps it can help you not make the mistake and just know the sequence in which to tighten stuff. I know better. However, I screwed up. And typically, or sometimes I should say, I'm not trying to make excuse for myself, if you take the adjuster sleeve out and you get it freed up and moving and stuff, even if you tighten the top one, usually when you tighten the bottom one, they're on enough of the same plane. When you start to tighten the bottom one, it just pushes it up out of the axle. So, and like I said, when I was eating lunch, I did realize, like, wait a minute, I didn't see that sucker move. So all it was doing is binding up on us. So tighten your bottom one. Gingerly tighten your top one, go back through, give the bottom one the beans, of course the spec, and then tighten your top one to spec and all that stuff. I hope I can get on the alignment machine today. Probably not. That's probably not going to happen until tomorrow morning. We still got to bang out these tie rod ends. So stick around, come back for part 3 of the tie rod end swap out of the big F-250. And if you don't want to miss that video, make sure you go down there, click subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified when it's out. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.